Hi there, I'm Mars. This is a tutorial/demonstration of how I'm using CSI with Reaper to control my plugins with my hardware. I'm building up on the basis that you have whatever surface you may have already configured and working in CSI, and we're at the point of mapping plugins. I made this application, it's called CSI Effects, that basically writes effect zones for CSI. First, you've got to make sure you run the CSI action that writes the zone raw effect files. And after running the script, just add the plugin you want to map and the file will be generated. We'll be using Valhalla Supermassive, simple and free to download, with an X-Touch, an MCU clone with colors. But this should work with other surfaces as well, with none too little tweaking. First, we need to load the zone raw effects file and enter an alias that fits our displays. Then we go straight to the auto mapping function here. The application will try to pre-configure your default surface for auto mapping. You can customize it by double-clicking on it. If everything's alright, we press OK. Here we see how the parameters are going to be mapped and the different subzones that will be created. The toolbar on the left helps us customize these mappings. I will make some changes to match the plugin's user interface. And rename my subzones. I will call them delay and mod. Now we press the Go button. Back to the plugin. Sometimes you have to call the CSI action refresh all surfaces. And we are now controlling Supermassive. By pressing the right and left cursors on the X-Touch, we navigate through the different subzones. All these buttons are configurable, so you can do your mappings the way you want. Once I'm happy with my auto mapping, I can go to the main editor and keep customizing it. We can change some colors for the subzone and also for the different tracks. Generate again. And now we have our subzones in color. My CSI configuration files are on a network share. That allows me to use an old tablet I had at hand to do some final touches without losing effects focus. I connected a sustain pedal to the X-Touch and mapped it to the refresh all surfaces CSI action. Now I'm going to map a more complex plugin. This is Search XT, a very good suggestion I got from FrankieBot in the ReaperForums. It is both free, open source, and I hope a good choice for this tutorial. I already have the zone raw effects file generated by CSI, so I will just start by loading it into CSI effects. Once loaded, I proceed to set an alias for it. Next step, I press the Auto button to get into the auto mapping function. I have two surfaces enabled here. I find it really worth it for plugins such as this. In my configuration, I have an extender on the left and the X-Touch on the right. For that reason, I usually leave the first track on the extender free from auto mapping, as well as the last track on the X-Touch. That way I can always use them to display the plugin and the subzone I'm in for reference. Once I'm done selecting the surfaces through which my plugin parameters will be spent, I press the OK button. Now, all the plugin parameters will be laid over my surfaces tracks in their default order, creating new effects subzones to cover the full parameter spectrum. As you can see, we would need more than a couple of hundred subzones to cover for all Search XT's available parameters. So we need to make things simpler. In this case, the sort button comes in handy. It will analyze those parameters, gives us a list of what's being repeated and how many times. There are a lot of OSC1, OSC2, LFO1, and so on parameters that start with a common root. I will now press the None button and start selecting the ones I'm interested in. That would be AOSC1. We'll see how we spread this to other oscillators later. An LFO1, an AMP-EG, and the filter, obviously. That's good enough. I will leave the shortened names checkbox alone here and just press OK. The OSC1 part of the parameter names has been stripped from the text we are going to show in our displays. We can customize them though, bearing in mind how many characters our surface can display. Once the sorting is done, I will make some adjustments with the tools on the left that will allow me to keep coherent in the parameters mapped within each subzone. By double-clicking on a zone name, I can rename it. My zones will be Oscillator, OSC, LFO, and let's say AMP filter. Once I'm done tweaking the automap configuration, I can save it, in case I want to recall it later. I will enable the effects menu. It will be a key element in my configuration, and when I'm done, I just press Go. All my effects zones and subzones are being generated, and projects will be saved for further editing. If we now go back to our plugin, we are already able to control it with our surface. All these functions and the general workings of CSI effects are quite properly documented in the PDF file included in the download. Let's close the AutoMap window and edit our mappings on the main screen now. Here we have all our subzones. Let's add some colors. For the oscillator, I will choose green. I'll color the LFO red and our AMP filter zone in magenta. Since I'm using the first track as information, I will have it in white to make it stand out. And repeat the process for the other subzones. Just generate again. And when we go back to Reaper, our effects menu has colors now. We can navigate across it with the selected buttons. As for the other oscillators, LFOs, etc., we can use the Wise Clone function that will try to reproduce current zones mapping, adapting it to the corresponding parameters in oscillator 2, 3, and so on. We will be prompted with a small window that will try to guess what's being repeated in our zone. And we can input here the analog part in our next subzone and put a name for it. If we press the menu order button, we can see that the OSC2 subzone is not included in our effects menu. That way we can save menu space for other subzones. If we generate again, and then we go back to our plugin, you see there is no OSC2 in our effects menu. But now the OSC menu slot acts as an anchor point from where we go to the second oscillator and others, pressing the next subzone button we have configured in our surface. There are many more functions you can use in the program if you need to go deeper into customizing, but I think that's about it for now. Suffice to say that none of this would be possible without CSI. CSI is the ghost in the machine here. It is a work of Mr. J. of Waddington. It's free and open source. In the description of this video you will find the links to CSI, its documentation and support files. Its development is donation based, so if you find it useful as I did and you want to contribute, you will find all the necessary information there. As for CSI Effects, it's a tool I developed for myself to ease the writing of configuration files for CSI. I will try to keep it updated as CSI evolves, since I'm using it on a regular basis. That will be all for now. Thanks for watching.